Today I'm going to be looking at a problem with this right hand Ergopower lever. It's the second shape of these Ergopower levers with the rounded top. These are normally extremely reliable, but there's one piece inside that can fail that will cause problems with the rear indexing. So if I pull the cable here and then release it, the rear derailleur moves in and out quite freely, so there's no extra friction on the cable that's causing this problem. However, if I push this lever here, and I push it just slightly, not as far as to make the indexing ratchet click, then the derailleur will start to move inwards, but when I release the lever, it doesn't spring back. And the result of this, when you try to ride the bike, is that the derailleur doesn't stay where the indexing ratchet wants it to stay when you change gear. It stays wherever you've left it, depending on exactly how far you've pushed the lever. So the result is that the indexing is all over the place and it doesn't really work at all. So I'm going to take it off the bike and have a look inside to see what's wrong with it. Okay, so I've taken the lever off the bike and removed the plastic cover from the back that reveals the insides. The first thing to do to dismantle this is to use a 3mm Allen key to remove this central bolt. And then off comes the cap here to reveal the counter spring. So this counter spring, what it does is when you use this lever here to change into a smaller sprocket, it adds tension to this spring. So the result is when you change into a bigger sprocket, that tension is released and it makes the gear change easier. It counters the spring tension in the derailleur. So next I'm going to prise the counter spring out with a small screwdriver. There we go. And when that came out, you can actually see what the problem is in this lever, and that is that the post that the counter spring was held onto has snapped away from the spring carrier. So next I'll take out the thumb lever. Now I need to remove the remains of the broken indexing carrier. So first off I'll remove this cover here, and then the carrier itself, which might be a little fiddly. There we go. This is the broken carrier. You can see where the post has snapped off. I need to take the springs out of this and then put them into this replacement spare part. Now I need to put it back together again. When you put the thumb lever spring back in, there's a little hole in the body that it has to go through. So you want to look from this side to make sure it's gone into that hole. Getting the counter spring back into the lever is very fiddly, but the easiest way that I found is to put the bolt back into the middle before you put the spring on and tighten it up. Then shift the lever so that it's in its largest sprocket, and that will put in the position where there's least tension on the spring. The spring goes in this way round, so that's where it wants to end up. But in order to put a bit of tension on it, you need to rotate it back round, then put the little end of the spring underneath the bolt there, and then move this piece round here to add a bit of tension to it, and then hook it around the back of the peg. Just want to make sure that spring is flat over there. Now what I'll do is I'll shift the lever so that it's in its smallest sprocket, just to check that that spring is tensioning up. Okay, now I'll remove the bolt very carefully, put the cover on and then put it back together. So there we have it, it's all gone back together quite nicely. Okay, so that's all done. The spare part number is ECRE111 and it cost me £2, so it's a very cheap fix if a little bit fiddly. But now the gears work perfectly.